Take a deep breath, exhale, and join us for this episode of Hope Out of the Darkness.
Shelley Pavlis is a non-professional learning to navigate the world of suicide prevention. As a volunteer of the American Foundation for Suicide Prevention in Orange County, California, she chats with people who, like her, are affected by suicide. Hear their real-life stories, learn how they keep living life to the fullest, and find out what can be done to stop suicide. Join the conversation with fellow AFSP volunteers and mental health professionals, all of whom have their own stories about suicide. Let's find hope out of the darkness.
Thanks for joining us today. I'm really excited for our guest today. Her name is Marie Cradle, and she is a board member for the Orange County Chapter's American Foundation for Suicide Prevention. I want to welcome you, Marie, to the show, first of all. Thanks for joining us.
Hi, Shell.
Hi. If you would tell us a little bit about your role you have on the board, also if you have any other jobs in your life, or a little bit about you.
I'm the marketing and social media lead for the Orange County chapter for AFSP. Started around, I believe it was 2015. The previous year, I heard about the biggest fundraiser for the foundation. It's the Out of the Darkness Walk. I believe I might have seen on Craigslist. Remember roaming around Craigslist or just, I don't know, maybe searching online, and I wanted to find out about volunteer opportunities. So that one in particular intrigued me, especially because about suicide prevention. I think that's one of the subject, suicide, that's a lot of people don't want to touch, but it's really important to address that. So it kind of just appealed to me to join the walk and just find out more about the mission and go from there. And it was a great walk, and I just followed up. They sent me emails about joining meetings in 2015. An Orange County chapter became an official chapter of the foundation. So I joined meetings and just went on from there. And about a year or so later, I became a board member.
What was it about suicide prevention? Did that strike a personal note to you?
Yeah, I've always been interested in mental health in general, and suicide prevention is very particular, just very unique. And I thought that was a really unique thing to do for volunteer. But for personally, I had a few friends that were depressed, and I always wanted to know like how to reach out to them because I felt like I was a good listener, but I didn't necessarily haven't experienced kind of depressed feelings. I wanted to kind of know more about the mental health condition for depression and for suicide, and what causes people to feel suicidal. So I felt like to know more about the foundation would be a good start to maybe help out friends and others in need.
Nice. Yeah, it's a great source of information for that, obviously. So, And usually we have some type of a connection. So, yeah, that makes sense that in wanting to help your friends that you reached out.
Yes.
You cover the marketing and social media for the Orange County chapter of AFSP. What was your interest with marketing, or do you have a marketing background, or was it an interest?
So actually, before I joined, I got laid off. So I thought, it was a good opportunity to really get involved with new opportunity that wasn't a job. I had more time. And what I was doing before, I was dealing with social media for small businesses. So
nice.
I figured, I might as well get into helping out with the foundation in a little way. I thought like maybe just to help out. They had Facebook started, and just to do some posts for them. Any kind of need I felt like I had some expertise in, so I kind of jumped in with that.
Suicide obviously is an incredibly serious and emotional subject.
It is, yes.
So what are some of the unique challenges of marketing such a serious subject?
Indeed, it's a very serious topic. When I started going to the meetings that we have are once a month for 10 months out of the year. It's held as an informational kind of meeting instead of like a support group, but it ends up being a kind of support group in a way, but informally. That's a good way if people attended the meetings, the way to educate themselves about the subject, and the way that it's presented, people get a good idea, better understanding of suicide as a subject. Actually going into social media, I think is a good way to present it in a more serious aspect online, make it more informative and do it in a way that appeals to people. Positive messaging. A lot of times on social media, you get kind of the negativity.
Yeah, that makes sense. A safe way to communicate about
Yes,
suicide is
definitely
by,
safe messaging.
yeah, focusing on safe messaging and focusing on hopeful and positive images and messages and self-help and
A lot of inspirational quotes that we post. It's not always actually that so serious, but just a lot of positive and give people hope.
actually it seems like an appropriate time too to take a quick break for our mid podcast message. We want to take a quick break and recognize that today's podcast episode may not be appropriate for everyone. If you are in crisis or know someone who is, please call the Suicide Lifeline at 1-800-273-8255 or text the word HELP to 741-741. And of course, if you feel you or someone you're with are in danger or experiencing a medical emergency, call 911. Are there any particular segments of our community that you feel are a little more difficult to reach through like traditional marketing and social media?
Definitely seniors, especially in Orange County. I believe the numbers, I don't have the stats right now, but I know that seniors 65 or older, I think that's the biggest group actually that are affected by suicide, who've died by suicide.
Yes.
Men and older. So it's a bit of a challenge to reach them, especially a lot of them are just talking as the social media person, they're not online. And so it's hard to deliver that message to that demographic. So yeah, I believe seniors, that's a group that stands out.
Yeah, that makes sense. Typically, when we think of social media, we do think of associating those who are on Facebook and Instagram, TikTok, Snapchat, all as, younger with all the main ones and even Clubhouse.
Yes, exactly. On all the new formats.
Yeah.
People have no idea, Clubhouse, that's at the senior center, right? The Clubhouse.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah.
I know a lot of people my age don't, not that age is a factor necessarily
Exactly.
with social media. 100%. I'm not, completely stereotyping, but when you do look at numbers and how to reach people and what type of medium to choose, it is important to look at where those people are.
Exactly. And so we have to do some outreach in person when things get more open, we can go back to in-person outreach at senior centers, giving talks like our Talk Saves Lives program that we do, where we have a host present for 30 minutes, kind of the scope on suicide. And so that's a way we can reach out to the seniors.
Exactly. And for our listeners who aren't familiar, we'll have the links for AFSP Orange County chapter, and you can go into the calendar and you can just sign up, Zoom Talk Saves Lives, and listen and check it out and see what it's all about.
It's very convenient. Yeah.
Yeah.
If you feel a little shy, I think it's a great way using online to get involved. It's very informal and very informational.
Yep, I agree. You don't have to go on camera. Just sit and listen. And yeah, we're happy to have anybody join us for any of the Talk Saves Lives at any time. I want to shift gears just a little bit. I'll still want to talk about social media, but with social media, because it's such a huge part of most of our lives, what are some suggestions you may have on how we can consume in a more healthy way?
Healthy, yes, it is actually possible. Not everything's so negative. I think often people think negative with social media, but there's a lot of positive things going on online. I've been involved with the foundation for over 6 years. I found that people are more open to talk about their mental health, and even met about suicidal thoughts, feelings, maybe attempts in the past online and also in person. Definitely the conversations is opening up. But I think some positive aspects about social media in particular, or some tips that people can use, is to really, for one, limit your consumption. online of the news, for example, or just the video games, whatever it is, doing online just to limit that and make time for life outside. Go outside.
Good suggestion. Yes. I mean,
Yes.
obviously, you are not the first person to suggest, put your phone down.
Seriously, just maybe, I don't know, maybe an hour, 2 hours to go online. Maybe is that possible? Maybe. So, people's jobs involve being online all day, but I think that's a good kind of limit to put on. And also just choose healthier options online. And they're out there. And it's just, it depends on the person.
That's true. Everyone has control themselves over what they choose to look at.
Exactly.
So don't go into the sites that, are a little bit darker or
toxic.
Yes.
Definitely toxic.
Exactly.
Like I try to find some hobby groups online.
Me too.
I think another thing we can do, especially for the news, don't really take in the news, especially the first few minutes of the news seems to be the most depressing thing to do.
True.
Maybe instead of like on TV, kind of get it maybe on your phone quickly if you have to know what's going on every day. If not, just don't take it in, or take it in a little bit later in the broadcast of the news where they get into lighter stories about, entertainment or, just things going on in the community that are just more positive.
Sure. That's good suggestions. I mean, we all want to kind of know what happened today. But if you are, sort of mindful about when specifically you're going to go in and listen for a little bit and get the news of the day and then end it, that's so much healthier for you than the constant drip all day long of the
and
negative
then repeats
news.
And repeats and rinse, repeat.
Exactly.
Yeah, and maybe develop a relaxing routine, especially before bed. Like, don't take in negativity before bed. If it's the news, if it's some like violent show, maybe do a relaxing routine that's maybe listen to some music, and maybe just even drawing a bath.
Yeah.
At night if you can. You have a bathtub.
Good.
Yeah, just things like that are relaxing. Reading something positive, something interesting. And also, I think another tip, especially if you're on the phone all the time, turn off the notifications on your phone. Alerts about news or whatever. It's just very distracting and just gets you to, get you on your phone again. Just leave it alone, like rest. Take the technology out of your bedroom.
Yeah, I'm one of those people with the notifications who is obsessed with having to remove them. Mm-hmm. So I have to, if I have, in a particular app, more than one notification, I have to go in and I have to, clear them. Yeah. And so I feel like constantly all day long, I'm clearing the notifications when the reality is really, why? I mean, that it's not necessary. That's my own weird thing in my head. Yeah, we never used to be notified of every single little thing that occurred in our lives.
Leave me alone.
Right. Yeah. Right, exactly. And of course, the advice too that comes from the health community about blue light and minimizing that just before bed. You mentioned, take the tech out of the bedroom. That's really important too, so that we can all get healthy sleep.
Yes. And one thing to mention too, I learned this recently, the phrase doom scrolling. Avoid doom scrolling, like you go in the comment section.
Oh, I've never even heard that expression.
So either on YouTube or wherever, where people may be making comments about this or that. And it seems like 90% of the time is so negative, and people get offended and maybe making some personal attacks. Maybe you write something in comments because you want your opinion out there, but then people attack it, or and then it just leads to a lot of negativity.
That's so true. And a lot of times people don't even stick to the thread, and it's just everyone. I mean, a lot of people just feel like it's an opportunity to just get their voice heard, make negative comments, like you said, and a lot of times it doesn't even relate to the initial thread topic or what the discussion's really about. Yeah, that's a really good point. Doom scrolling. That's a perfect name for it.
Yeah, write it down. It's a good
Yeah.
something to note there.
So if we put your AFSP OC hat back on for marketing, do you have any program campaigns that are coming up that you want to share?
Yes, we do.
Awesome.
So in June, we're really pushing Pride Month, Pride, and also our advocacy program. For advocacy, we try to get government to do the right thing and support mental health initiatives. So those are our two main campaigns. And also locally, for Orange County, we're doing our campaign Duck Duck Hope. You know, rubber duckies. Remember having that?
Yeah. I love it. Yeah, this campaign is, I mean, I know suicide's a serious topic, but this
Yes,
is
but we got
a
to make it
little
light.
bit, a little bit of a light way to get the message out,
Yes.
which is favorable and which actually allows the message to get to some people when it wouldn't ordinarily.
Mm-hmm.
We talked about this a little bit in one of our other episodes. Tell listeners here again what it's all about.
So basically, hashtag Duck Duck Hope. You go on Instagram or Facebook and you can follow. So basically, you can get some rubber duckies like through Amazon or Michael's or Walmart. We attach some messaging on a duck and it has the crisis text line 741. That's the text for the crisis text line. And also the suicide lifeline that we have. And we sent out the duckies out in the community, wherever you think of, in the park, in stores, and hopefully somebody picks it up and maybe the little duckies puts a little smile on their face. And especially if somebody's feeling a little down, that could be a nice little way to cheer somebody up, and or maybe they know somebody who's down, who's struggling, and get that little ducky and just gonna spread it around positive locally in Orange County.
Yeah, it's a good unexpected way for someone to come upon the message of hope.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, if it doesn't resonate personally with them specifically, you're right. I mean, it might be something that they can grab because they know someone, who needs to hear that message, and they can pass it along to them.
Yeah, and that campaign we're going to run, I believe, throughout this year. And we're just really curious to see all the duckies and maybe in Orange County and maybe beyond, see how big this thing goes.
Good. And I do too think that it's something that students can participate in too. And it might be something that is a little more meaningful to that age group that they can share. So it'll be really, really interesting to see how many hashtag Duck Duck Hopes we have in a couple months.
I would love to see that at all schools and colleges, really.
Yeah. Yep. And I've had people comment on some of my social media posts when I've left a few around, saying,
Mm-hmm.
"Oh, I love that idea," or, "Oh, I want some." I've actually sent a couple people who I know, obviously, so I know their addresses, and who have said, "Oh, that's neat. I'd like to put one on my desk at work."
Mm-hmm.
Or, "Oh, I, have someone that I want to share that with." So
any kind of community center would be great. On the beach, that's like my favorite place to be. Maybe along the rocks, somewhere like that. And yeah, it definitely puts a smile on people's faces. And
yeah, it's a good idea. Yeah, I've left a couple in a store. I left one actually the other day. One of our local food banks, which is associated with one of the local churches, opens on Wednesday in the morning. So late Tuesday, I left a couple at the food bank. One, on the initial platform where people can walk up and get a box of food or whatever they might need. And one inside, kind of in a little, it's hard to describe the actual physical location itself, but there's kind of a little sort of an office area for the people who actually are volunteering or work there. So I left one for them as well. So, just parks anywhere in our community. Yep. Yeah, I love that. So this is sort of a hashtag campaign too. I thought it'd be kind of fun to brainstorm some hashtags together.
Okay, that sounds cool.
Yeah. So let's see what ones we can come up with But that should have planned ahead, but I actually didn't on this one. So let's see how many come to mind right now.
Okay.
Go ahead, you start.
The one I really started using, hashtag stop suicide.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Also, fight suicide. That was one of the ones really pushed for previous campaigns.
Hashtag suicide prevention.
Mm-hmm. Out of the darkness. Yes.
Yep.
Yeah, hashtag out of the darkness, or sometimes we just do hashtag OOTD.
Yes.
To really emphasize our biggest fundraiser of the year, Out of the Darkness Walk.
Good one. I like hashtag be the voice.
Love that. That was the first theme that really appealed to me. I have a couple of Be the Voice navy blue t-shirts for the years.
Our YouTube listeners will see me wearing that t-shirt occasionally in some of our episodes.
I like
one
the
of my
V-neck
favorites.
ones.
Yeah.
Those are my favorite.
Yep. Me too.
The women, yeah, we can kind of go for that one. So yeah, those are the main hashtags that we use.
Mental health for all.
Yes.
Mental health for all or mental wellness for all?
Mental health awareness. Yeah. Yes. Yep. Mental health month. For May, every May, it's mental health month officially.
Yeah. And I've seen hashtag Talk Saves Lives.
Talk Saves Lives. TSL.
Yep. TSL. That's a good one.
Our main program from the foundation that we promote in Orange County. We've done a whole lot of talks just this year. I think we're determined to have the most of any chapter.
Yeah, it's good. And also, they're available in English and in Spanish, the standard ones.
Spanish.
Yeah. And then we have the firearms version, which a lot of times is presented in groups where there are veterans. The senior version.
Seniors.
Yeah. And then LGBTQ version. Oh. So we've got lots of different versions of the Talk Saves Lives, which cater specifically to those particular groups and focus on some specifics that those communities may experience that others may not. So yeah, they're really, really good information.
And after the presentation, there's usually a short Q&A session where people have questions. So there's opportunity to ask them to the host. And also, I believe you can, if somebody doesn't get their questions asked during the presentation, you can leave a comment.
You can. I just recently became a Talk Saves Lives presenter, and so there's always a moderator for the Talk Saves Lives presentation. That means that there's always someone available looking at the chat, dedicated to that 100% to answer any group questions or any questions specifically directed at the moderator through the chat, through Zoom, and then obviously in person if we get back to that.
Yes. I miss in person.
Yeah.
We would do a lot of Talk Saves Lives in churches, Presbyterian churches especially. You could just see it in their eyes. They were touched. And they really thanked us afterwards for the time. They don't react right away to the moderator about how they felt, but later on we get emails saying, oh, the presentation was excellent. And then they go on to maybe want to attend a volunteer meeting or just to get all the information that they need to maybe help themselves or help someone in need.
Exactly. Because we've been doing the Zoom Talk Saves Lives, obviously the Zoom has to go out to an email. So everyone does have a point of contact. If they have a question after the fact, they can always email. Yeah, like you were saying. So
it's great.
Yeah, it's perfect. You had mentioned the Out of Darkness walks. I know some of your social media posts involve the special events, which are open to everyone for AFSP OC. So what is your favorite event that AFSP does?
The walk, because it's our biggest opportunity to reach out to a lot of people. As far as locally in Orange County, something that I've done, maybe it's a cross between the Swallows event in San Juan Capistrano.
Oh, yeah.
It's a huge event in San Juan Capistrano, beautiful surroundings. And we would have a table there. And so it's great to do events like that, local events. I've gotten great reaction being at the table and people approaching, and we have informational literature about suicide and suicide prevention.
So that would be considered an outreach table at a local event, not specifically AFSP focused. Okay, nice.
But yeah, just the walk would be my favorite official AFSP event.
For people who are not familiar with that at all, what's the walk?
We've had the walk many times at a major park here in Orange County, Miles Square Park. We've had other locations too. It's an easy walk. It's not a competition or anything like that. It's, I don't know, lasts about 30 minutes or so. We have a little route. It's our biggest fundraising event. So basically we have a presentation before the actual walk. And we have tables there too with community groups. We have sponsors at the tables often. We pray that it's not too sweltering hot.
Right.
Yes. And usually it happens in mid-fall, October, November. Sometimes we've had it earlier. And it's a great time. It's free to register for the walk, but we encourage people to donate, to form teams, either or be a solo walker. We encourage people to donate online and also in person, find people, neighbors, community groups, churches, workplace to donate to the cause of just walking around the park. And it's a fun time. You meet a lot of different people, and it's just a very hopeful event in the presentation.
It is.
And just the camaraderie with everybody.
My first walk was only 2 months after I actually walked into a volunteer meeting with the Orange County chapter of AFSP. And I ended up volunteering to lead the check-in so that when teams and individuals would come in and check in for the walk, I would get to kind of meet everyone and say hi and make sure everyone was checked in. I was kind of blown away by the event because without ever having attended one before and really knowing what was involved, it was a lot more about anyone who's affected by suicide in any way, just being able to come together with that shared feelings and see that they're not alone. One of the things that I like are the honor beads. Do you want to explain a little bit about that aspect of the walk? Because, I think that that's kind of a favorite aspect of the walk for many people.
So the beads are kind of like, those Mardi Gras beads that are passed out. But so they're different beads in various colors. The main one I would focus on, the blue beads. So that's a general way of supporting a year for suicide prevention.
So everybody who's there wears, blue beads.
Blue beads, right.
Because, everybody's there, there for that reason.
Yeah, and there's different colors. The blue's for the general cause of suicide prevention. And there's white beads, orange beads, red beads, teal beads. Those other ones represent either you've lost a child to suicide, for example, or you've lost your spouse, or there's a one that represents whether you're struggling with suicide or mental health issues.
Yeah, I remember the multicolored one that shows that you support the LGBT, the Pride community, and
a person representing each bead goes on stage. The moderator announces what it represents in the cause for suicide prevention and for suicide awareness. And so it gets the opportunity to learn more, and also for people to share their stories in the short speeches. It's a nice presentation before the walk. In previous years, we've had a Dove release. It's a beautiful event. I always like to
That's amazing.
Videotape. I'm going to say videotape still. I love to catch that on my phone. Kind of old school here.
Yep, me too.
Yeah. We would have that, and one year we had a butterfly release, I believe.
Oh, wow.
Yes.
Yeah, that's amazing. Some years they've done quilts or signs, but a lot of times people walk in remembrance of someone or in someone's name, and sometimes it's themselves because they're struggling, or someone that that they know who's died by suicide or is struggling with mental health issues, or for whatever reason they're walking for, in the name of someone, and then to see those names on, signs with a message, a
Yes,
personal message to them,
definitely.
it is really, really touching.
First time I went, I think I was most touched by shoes that were left.
Oh,
Every shoe had a picture of somebody who was lost to suicide and
oh,
their
wow.
story. Maybe just showing their age of their picture and maybe like a quote from them or something like that.
Oh, I like that.
Yeah. So, yeah, those pictures were by the shoes.
That's really neat.
And so, yeah, that was something very poignant at the
Yeah.
walk.
So, I just wanted to, impress upon people that it's way more than just getting out and walking for money. It's a chance for the community get together, and it's a whole experience.
Yeah. And when the first time I went, I walked alone, but then I met a group of guys and girls, and I walked with them, and they were just very welcoming. And so it became a experience like I never thought it would be. I thought like, oh, okay, I'm just kind of alone doing this, and you'll meet friends.
Yeah.
We're strangers, and just they'll hug you,
Yeah.
They're very touched.
Yeah, it's amazing with obviously, because suicide prevention is so emotional that, everybody, I know it's a huggy crowd is the way I put it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and make sure you bring some tissues.
Oh, yeah.
Because there's always like some speech that might get you to tear up a little bit, or just taking everything in can be a little overwhelming.
It can. Very, very true. And that's okay. It's okay to cry. And yep.
Let it out.
Yep, exactly.
Let it out.
And I'm looking forward to the walk this year and to seeing how we're going to do it again. It evolves a little bit differently since COVID.
Fingers crossed we can do something. If not, it could be something like we've been doing throughout the month of May, the OC Hike for Hope. That's another hashtag there to look out for. So basically, people can pick a path to walk. If there's no official place that we'll have, people can just decide to do it for themselves. And, plenty of physical distancing to do when you choose your own route. So,
yeah, exactly. It could be a hybrid, and people can do it how they want to do it.
Mm-hmm. Do it with your own group.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, but still come together at the end for the ceremony of it too. So
yeah, and the main thing is, no matter how it's going to be done this year, put it out on social media, pictures, videos, send it our way. We can showcase you guys, all of you guys out here in the community.
Absolutely, because it is about, everyone and everyone healing and everyone spreading the word and everyone helping to try to prevent suicide and stopping it.
Yeah, let's get back to a healthy normal.
Yes.
Whatever that is,
Yeah, I agree. You mentioned that a lot of the partners that join AFSP at walks and throughout the year, like NAMI, Be Well, Dee Hirsch, provide a lot of resources for mental wellness and suicide prevention at the events and online and at their own events. What are your go-to resources lately?
NAMI is a really great one for general mental health. National Association for Mental Health, I believe, and NAMI. They're great. So their OC chapter division is excellent. The Jetty Foundation be a great one.
Oh yeah, that's a good one.
And also, Seize the Awkward, I think is good, especially for younger demographics.
Mm-hmm.
I would say older teens and young adults, and that demographic maybe like 18 to 35 or so, millennials or so. That's appealing. Seize the Awkward. It's a little quirky, but
there's another hashtag too.
Hashtag Seize the Awkward. So many of these campaigns are coming up. It's amazing. But Seize the Awkward, their AFSP does support them. They're linked up together. What they do is, talking about suicide is very awkward. It's uncomfortable.
It is.
It needs to be talked about more and more, because especially dealing with everything we had to deal with during the pandemic. I mean, there's a lot of anxious people, a lot of depressed people, a lot of suicidal people out here that need to be heard, supported. They need the resources. they need friends, the good friends, trusted people.
Yeah, they need to know they're not alone.
Help them get them out of the situation. Not alone, exactly. So he's awkward. It's good for, they have some tips on how to approach friends, loved ones that are in need. But basically, what I think they emphasize, hang out with somebody, just be there. I think that's the best thing to do. Get that person who's in a crisis to trust you.
Yeah, just let them know you're there.
Sometimes you don't have the right words, but sometimes it's just, hey, let's chill, hang out. And then sometimes that kind of leads to that person talking more and responding.
Yeah, it's a good reminder and a good message. Yep. Mm-hmm. And a good program.
Yeah.
So that brings us to our listener question segment.
Okay.
Can social media cause suicide?
That's a really good question. So I would say, there's no one reason. We like to emphasize there's no one reason why somebody might want to take their own life. There's usually what they say is like multiple causation. There could be different life stresses. One, chronic pain. There's multiple reasons why. Maybe substance abuse is a factor. Maybe something that's said on social media could be a trigger, but usually the person who's suicidal, they're already thinking about suicide. It's not like that one comment necessarily set them off. It could be many factors involved.
I mean, and listening to the talk saves lives. I mean, potentially certain types of social media, I guess they could contribute as one factor in increasing some risk factors.
Yeah, it's not 100% the blame.
Yeah, like we teach in, AFSP in the Talk Saves Lives presentation, like evidence shows that there's not any one single reason that causes a person to attempt suicide. It could be one of the many factors that you already just mentioned, like environmental factors too, like maybe they lost their job or there's something going on and they all come together and converge for that individual. So good answer. I think it's important to separate.
Yeah, and sometimes there could be a lot of trauma involved, childhood or otherwise. And so that's some underlying thing. There's multiple causation. I remember hearing that term. It's not just one thing that could trigger that.
Yep, very true. But remember, as Marie mentioned earlier when we talked about the tips of actually consuming in a more healthy way, that's important for everyone. So also try to consume in a healthy way and don't watch the toxic social media.
Yes, there's a positive and negative.
Yeah. Yeah, don't get down that rabbit hole.
All the time, believe me. It's just like, okay, I see all this negativity. I'm just like, okay, whatever. Go back to my happy little spots online and
exactly little kitties and puppies
and chill out. And I drink my tea every day, and I'm kind of a calm person anyway. But yeah, I try to gravitate towards positive always and get all that other stuff out.
Nice. So your business is travel, and that's got to be one of the best ways that people can actually chill out and relax and
get away,
go to a happy place. Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So, yeah, I've been in travel past few years, working with an agency, and it's, I find multiple happy places to go. Locally too. We're kind of spoiled in Orange County. I like to go to my beaches and
we are. That's very, very true. Well, a lot of people are, finally, aren't they finally able to maybe reschedule those trips that they had planned that got canceled because of COVID. So, so that, hopefully will also help improve our overall mental health and wellness here in society as we can all get back to that.
Yeah, wellness. That's the wellness travel industry is really booming these days. And so wellness, that might mean, like going to a spa.
Yeah.
Or doing yoga at some retreat. Like in Arizona, they got these desert retreats. Really appeals especially to women, but and anybody, and it's a good way.
Yeah, sounds good to me.
Detox from all that social media that's so negative.
Nice.
No technology in the room. Just know you get to get in tune with yourself again.
Nice. So that's actually a really good segue because I always like to leave our episodes on a positive note. So what's something that you do for your own self-care or your own mental health wellness that you could share with our audience?
For me, what's big is music. I listen to music every day, and kind of a variety of music. I tend to gravitate towards kind of like that kind of chill music, whether it be like a jazz or kind of that chill dance beat sometimes.
Nice.
And positive lyrics I like too. That's what helps me. Self-care, just taking time with that. And I've been getting more into wellness products, beauty products, spa kind of treatment, things like that. And just really like take an invigorating shower bath, just little things like that. Travel. So I like going out to calming areas. I notice little things in nature and I appreciate that. So sometimes just hearing water, just going to waterfalls or little water feature fountain kind of things can calm me. And it's great for self-care. It's excellent. Just things like that. Very simple. Good
suggestions. Great suggestions for everyone. Well, thank you so much for joining us today, Marie. That's a really interesting insight, into the marketing side of suicide prevention. And listeners, please download all our episodes of Hope Out of the Darkness and subscribe. And you can also check us out on YouTube. If you are in crisis or know someone who is, please call or text the Suicide Lifeline. You can find out how to reach the Lifeline by looking for the numbers in the show notes of every single episode. If it wasn't glaringly evident in today's episode, I'm not a mental health or suicide prevention professional, and this is not an official AFSP podcast. I am determined, however, to find a way to help stop suicide in my community and to support those affected by suicide.
Thanks for listening to Hope Out of the Darkness. To learn more about Shell, the American Foundation for Suicide Prevention, and how to submit listener questions to be answered on the show, visit hopeoutofthedarkness.com.